you're new to my station, I am the Hebrew Widow, the Hebrew Rose Jericho, coming at you with some judgment news. Shalom, all of my sisters and my bro stars, allies and friends of the STARSEED United. I send you infinite love and light, and I receive yours. Abracadabra. STARSEED United and my friends out there, Happy New Year. We might not know the exact date, we might not agree upon the same date, but one thing we can agree on, that this is the season. Yeah, so Happy New Year. We're truly going to have a Happy New Year. This year is the Great Reset, and we are about to receive all of those blessings. Yeah. Isn't this a beautiful image? Y'all got it from the world of signs. I see entities. I see life forms with beautiful pastel colored garments on. Shalom, y'all. Yeah, the 5D is crossing over into this 3D, and it's getting captured on camera. Isn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness, I see them anyway, just standing side by side in their rainbow-colored garments. Wow. For the last week or so, I have been listening to the audio of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And I have been pondering on it, and I got so many decodes. This is the gospel that will help us to pass the test to go into glory. Okay? And we know that that book was shadow banned. We know Mary Magdalene was shadow banned. Yeah, so I'm just going to discuss and free flow with what came through to me in that gospel where Jesus gave the disciples the message of the true gospel that would truly set us free, followed up by secrets of Mary Magdalene that Jesus shared with her. Yeah. So I'm just going to give you the download, and you too listen to the gospel of Mary Magdalene, because that is the gospel that Jesus himself told the disciples to preach. Authorized Mary Magdalene to give them a deeper truth to preach. Yet I never heard the messages that I heard in the gospel of Mary Magdalene preached in the Bible, preached in the churches. I never heard that message preached. Why? Because Hashatan went through great lengths to shadow ban Mary Magdalene. As you can see, the church did some 3D evil hocus pocus, created a voodoo doll, and call it the relic of Mary Magdalene. And that just very well be that might be her skull, because you know they like to dig up people's bones to use their magic. Like Geronimo. Yeah, they like to dig up people's bones, magical people. So this is a voodoo doll. What I'm seeing is a yoke around her neck and shoulders. They gave her hair the appearance of being blonde, European hair. They put a helmet on her head, some kind of chin strap. And then they have two angels holding her down. This is magic, y'all. It's hocus pocus. How grotesque. How grotesque is this of the beautiful Mary Magdalene? because they never wanted the world. They never wanted the church to receive the messages from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. You guys recognize this as being some hocus pocus? I do. I don't care what they say that it means. I'm looking at a voodoo doll with the skull of the beautiful Mary Magdalene. They desecrated her grave. They dug up her skull, and look what they did to it. It's magic against magic, Hashatan. The world will know the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is going to go viral. Abracadabra. So, this is the things that's been standing throughout the centuries, them pulling this kind of hocus pocus. They did all this to suppress her and to suppress her message and to suppress the women in the church. Well, those days are over. Those days are over, Hashatan. This magic, this little hocus pocus right here, it could only last for so long. Now you got called out on it. And this is not going to work anymore. Our people going to receive this knowledge of Mary Magdalene. Okay, I know I'm using a lot of white images. We know that was a deception too. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just going to go on through and free flow what I got out of this message. So the contents of the message within the Gospel of Mary Magdalene took place with Jesus after the crucifixion, when he was teaching his disciples and giving them the messages to give to the world. Okay? And then when he departed, Mary Magdalene continued. She was authorized by him to share further secrets that would be preached to the world. So we have like a meeting, I would say, with the 12 male disciples and Mary Magdalene with the message of the gospel that would free our minds. It would also give the knowledge of the things that we were being tested on. But have I ever heard any of the disciples preach any of these things that I heard in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene? No, I did not. They never preached the gospel that Jesus himself gave to them. They never preached that message. And the book of Mary Magdalene, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, has been shadow banned. And women have been suppressed in our church ever since because of what happened after the meeting. So what I want you to pay attention to is the first one, Peter, who ended up on center stage. Just remember that. Okay, you guys know about the magical experience that I had when I was playing my pan drum. It was coded messages. I couldn't understand it. That was 2 years ago, and I'm just now getting understanding of what Jesus was saying to me. And I'm saying Jesus because of the audience, okay? We know his name is not that, okay? So he was speaking to me, and in this, the message that he was giving me had everything to do with the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, okay? I was led to go to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene because I asked the Father in a video to let us know who we truly are, right? And so I said, well, I'm a woman, and I was called his disciples because in that experience, he said to all of my fellows, you are my disciple. it's like the magic is so natural. So I had asked the Father on a few videos ago to let us know who we truly are. I'm not saying that I'm Mary Magdalene, but I'm saying that I was chosen. I was chosen as a woman to be the Messiah's disciple. Yeah. So now, the first thing that the book talks about, I don't know if it's the first thing, but one of the things that the book talks about, one of the disciples asked Jesus, when he walked around for 40 days after he had, not he had, but after the crucifixion. And he spent 40 days with them teaching them things, okay? And so when he was speaking to them, they were asking him about the crucifixion, like dang, the crucifixion. How did it feel? They wanted to know everything about it. They wanted to understand the crucifixion, which the church gave us a story that he suffered and died for our sins, and we know that that's not true. That is not true. But if people choose to believe that, well, so be it. But that's not true. Everybody's going to pay for their own evil, or they're going to be rewarded for their good. Period. Is good and evil. And every man stands alone with what he chose to do with his energy, or she chose to do with her energy. Period. So that was a part of the deception. So when they asked him about it,
Chapter 5. Levi asked the Savior, "My Lord, what then of the sufferings you endured, and the death you died?" And the Savior answered, "I suffered, and I did not suffer. I died, and I died not. I suffered, and I did not suffer. I died, and I died not. For all the designs of the evil archons wrought was to free me of the shameful clothing of matter I had assumed, for the sake of my sojourn in this world. For long and long I bade you keep my identity secret, but the demon powers knew, and finally they had me crucified. But they did not suspect they would be the very cause of my deliverance. But they did not suspect they would be the very cause of my deliverance."
what my ears heard, my magical ears heard, was that the evil ones, they wanted to capture and kill Jesus. And he said that they weren't suspecting that they would be the very cause of his deliverance. Then he said, "I suffered, but I did not suffer. I died, but I did not die." Come on, y'all. He's saying that it wasn't him on the cross. And he was talking to his disciples because they too believed that it was him on the cross. So he spoke in coded messages to say that, it wasn't him to his disciple, because it was still even a secret to them, the magic that happened. This is why they want to suppress the gospel of Mary Magdalene, and they never preach the gospels that Jesus told them to preach in that meeting. In this phrase, he says, "You will know why Jesus nailed Lucifer's tactic." So I just immediately got that. And then I was pondering on the Garden of Gethsemane. It was some magic that happened in the Garden of Gethsemane, and the disciples didn't know because they fell asleep. Remember? They fell asleep. He instructed them to stay up, right? But they fell asleep. They don't know what happened in the Garden of Gethsemane. Anyway, You remember when he said, I have a legion of angels that can rescue me? I believe that they did. If he did say, Father, take this bitter cup of suffering away from me, I believe the Father really did it. And everybody believed that they put hands on Jesus when it was actually Judas. Now let's talk about Judas, okay, and Mary Magdalene. So, first of all, she was not Jesus's, friend, buddy. No, Mary Magdalene and Jesus was in love, okay? In the Gospel of Thomas, which they took out the Bible too, it speaks of him kissing her on the lips, and also it mentions Mary Magdalene as being that kind of companion, wife, girl, your girlfriend, your love, your life partner, the love of your life. Yeah, that's what that word meant, a romantic kind of love. And that's how they addressed Mary Magdalene. So they had that kind of love, y'all. So now let's talk about Judas. Because right before all of that happened with the crucifixion, y'all remember when Mary Magdalene was washing Jesus? Now listen to it in the romantic way. Because they were romantic. She washed his feet in front of everybody with her tears too, and dried his feet with her hair, and she gave him a foot massage with some perfumed, beautiful oils. That was a gesture of love. And who was there hating? Who was there hating? Judas. He started talking about her using her expensive oil on him like that, and they could have sold it and did something for the poor. And he already witnessed Jesus feeding 5,000 people with 6 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And he's worried about the money. No, he wasn't worried about the money. He was hating. And it looks like all the disciples, well, not all of them, but I know Peter was jealous of Mary Magdalene. He was jealous too. That's why I said pay attention to that one first in line that ended up on front and center stage. Okay? Oh, a lot happened in that room that day, in that meeting with all the disciples, including the beloved disciple, Mary Magdalene, that Jesus loved the most. Yes. Anyway, y'all, so y'all think about that. That was a beautiful gesture of love that she did when she was washing his feet, and he's all feeling her love, and oh my goodness. And here come Judas, hating and starting shit and talking about it and interrupting that beautiful moment of love. Yeah. And then, the Father, he's in all Psalms 83 meetings. You don't think Jesus knew that Judas had plans to sell him out? He knew very well. That's what I'm saying. In the Garden of Gethsemane, it was some magic to happen because everybody, even to this day, much of humanity believed that it was Jesus on the cross. Okay? I think it was a lot happened. So anyway, then I start pondering on. Now, everybody believed that it was Jesus on the cross, including Mary Magdalene, the mother of Jesus, Mary, his brothers, his sisters, his friends, his enemies, Pontius Pilate, and Caesar, all of them, everybody believed that it was Jesus on that cross. Some believe it still today because the magic was very powerful. And Mary Magdalene believed it too. That's why she showed up to the tomb, and she was the first one because she stood by Jesus' side, who she thought was Jesus, through the whole torture. I can't even imagine watching somebody that I love. I gotta watch it. Everything that they did to Jesus. So I can imagine her grief, because I was in love like that with Randy. I really loved him. And I had to see him suffer too, because he was really, really sick. So I know the pain and grief, and especially when they die. Oh my goodness. It's like your heart is being ripped out. Yeah, so she shows up at the tomb in all of her grief. I cannot imagine when this happened. Is that Mary showed up in all her grief. And when Jesus approached her and revealed his face, he said, Mary, Mary, it's me. That wasn't me on the cross. That was that asshole Judas. That wasn't me, Mary. I cannot imagine the joy that filled her heart and extinguished all of that sorrow and pain. I can't even imagine it. He found her first. Oh my goodness, he found the love of his life to tell her that it wasn't really him. Now, the thing about that is the disciples, I believe that the disciples still believe that it was Jesus on the cross, that he was crucified. And I think he did some magic, and they believe that he rose again too. And I believe that story, that was all that's all they deserved to know, because of the way they did Mary Magdalene. For real, for real. Her gospel should have been the cornerstone of Christianity. We never would have got trapped in this matrix, and we would have broken the cycle of reincarnation. Yeah, so anyway, wow, y'all. Oh, anyway, I just had a thought. But it would have broke us out of that cycle. So now, let's go back to the room. So now Judas got what he deserved. He got punished for what he did. He got his karma right away. Yeah. So yeah, Judas the hater. He hated Mary Magdalene and Jesus' relationship. He sold Jesus out to, and he received his karma. Okay, so in the book of Mary Magdalene, there was obviously a meeting with the disciples, Mary Magdalene, Jesus himself. He was there in the beginning of the meeting. And he was telling them the message that was supposed to be the message to the churches that I never, ever saw in the scripts. They canonized it out. Why? Why? Because it was knowledge to keep us from ever being trapped by this matrix. And it was also knowledge that he imparted that we are being tested. And in order to go to glory, we have to pass these tests, or we will be caught in this matrix, in the cycle of reincarnation. And so, number one, if we would have had that knowledge and practiced that knowledge, disciplined our minds to that knowledge, we never would have been entrapped in this matrix. We would have known what the matrix was, because he clearly explains what the matrix is. And then thirdly, if we would have been consciously aware that we were being tested, and in order to reach our ultimate goal, to get into glory, we had to pass the test. And that was supposed to be the gospel. That was the cornerstone of the church, the Christ-minded ones. Yeah, and they shadow banned her book, The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, because they never want us to be free from this matrix. in our minds. And certainly the evil ones never want us to learn our message so we can get into glory. Yeah. By the way, after Jesus had imparted a lot of wisdom, because you guys listen to the book on your own if you desire, because, well, it's only for those who have an ear to hear. That's why you have to read between the lines. Even the disciples were not able to read between the lines about his crucifixion. The reason I said that is because when he left and Mary Magdalene was there with them, they started really fretting, like, dang, he went through all that. We're going to have to go through this, all of this torture that they did to him. Y'all saw what he did to them? And they started fretting. Now, Mary Magdalene, she knew the secret. And she said, you guys stop fretting. You don't have to be afraid. You're divinely protected. Which now, mind you, they had witnessed the crucifixion. And they believed that the Father watched on without doing anything, that Jesus had a legion of angels that didn't do anything about the evil that they were doing to him. And so they fretted. They're like, we're going to have to go through this. She's trying to tell them, chill, you're protected. But she couldn't tell them the top secret, that Jesus really wasn't crucified. Yeah, they had to be able to read between the lines. Confirmation, or have an ear to hear the coded message. And isn't that wonderful news? That it wasn't Jesus. He was all good. He elevated the world. He taught. He dedicated his life with a passion to give knowledge. All of his life, even in that room. And isn't it wonderful to know that the devil couldn't do all of those wicked, evil, nasty, treacherous, violent things to him on that cross? The very thought that Hashatan was not authorized to kill him, to lynch him in that manner, it just gave me great joy to know that he lived on. He didn't have to go through all of that. But he lived on, and he had love. He had a family. He had children. Some of us are their descendants. This is a beautiful story. We don't have to grieve over his death thinking that he did it to die for everybody else's sins. You're going to have to pass your own test, and you're going to have to pay for your own karma, and you will be rewarded for all the good that you did. Point blank, period. Ain't nobody died for nobody's sins. That's number one. That book is for those who have an ear. Yeah, so he lived on. So now Mary Magdalene, after Jesus left the meeting, Mary Magdalene was left there with the disciples, and she was approached by Peter. So Peter said, we know that the Messiah loved you more than women. Did he tell you some things, some secrets he didn't tell us? That was a trap, okay? So anyway, Mary, being authorized by Jesus to tell them a deeper truth about the test and what the test was all about, she describes worlds with orbs. In these worlds, you have to pass your tests in order to advance to the next world. And it's 7 worlds that you have to pass before you can get into glory. You have to know your answers to these questions, or when you're accused, you have to know how to defend yourself in order to pass the worlds. And if you don't pass all 7 worlds, you cannot enter into glory. You will have to die and come back again until you learn the lesson to advance. And so she's sharing all of this esoteric knowledge that Jesus gave us to get us prepared for the test. I don't know about y'all, but I have taken so many classes, and I have certificates and all kind of stuff that I had to study for. Now, if I knew what was going to be on the test, I would know what to study. And then when I got into the test, because I knew what the test was about, I would have confidence and pass that test with flying colors. And that's what Mary Magdalene was sharing with the disciples about the test, so that we can all pass it. So can you see how her book, with all the knowledge that Jesus imparted and all the knowledge that she gave in her secrets, how this was supposed to be the cornerstone of the church, the Christ-minded ones. And I never heard these things being taught in the scripts, because systemically they made sure that we didn't get that message. So, as it goes, when she finished imparting that wisdom, she was approached again by Peter. And he was like, yeah, right. He told you all of that. He would tell a woman something that he wouldn't tell us. Very insulting. Mary got very, very upset. And Levi checked Peter on it, about his disrespect and how Jesus loved her more than any of them. And she should be respected, and so should all of the sisters be respected. Yeah, he stood up, but they still didn't preach what was taught in that room. He stood up, and Mary Magdalene, evidently she walked away. She lived a long life, honey. She lived a long life with the Messiah. With the Messiah. Now, he could have told them those secrets while he was in that room, but he gave them specifically to the woman that he loved. And he knew right then and there what the disciples were going to do. He knew what was going to happen. Just because it was Mary Magdalene, the one that he loved the most, that they would reject the message. And they did, evidently, because it's not in your scripts. Have they found any scrolls on it? Because I haven't heard this message before about worlds and orbs of worlds and passing tests and all of that. I never heard what was said in that room. So evidently they rejected the message. Anyway, she went back to the man that she loved and told on his fellows and how they treated her. And what did he do? He removed his energy for good. He removed his energy and the woman that he loved from their midst. And they went on to another land in peace and in love. They had children. Even at an old age, they said Mary Magdalene had a children. So you had two old senior citizens that still could produce a baby. Isn't that magical? I was like, whoa. So they went on and had the happy life that they deserved. That's what happened. Oh my goodness, it was so exciting. While the disciples, like Peter, what was Peter's fate? What was Peter's fate? The same as Judas's. What was most of the disciples' fate? The same as Judas's. Why? Now we know why. Because they did not preach the messages that was given to them by our Messiah and his woman. They never preached it. And look what happened to them. So they fell to the same fate, just like the traitor and the hater, Judas. They fell prey to the enemies of our souls. That's what happened because they didn't preach that message, those messages that happened in that meeting room. So what happened in that meeting sounds like the churches, the mosque, even the gurus, all of them disrespecting the women, shadow banning their message. YouTube and all of them know about the women too. They shadow ban our messages too. Yeah. And this has been going on. It all started in that room. All of you from the Church of Paul to tell women to keep silent in the church. And we see that Mary Magdalene had the secret message. Anyway, that's over too. So now going back over the whole thing, now we know why they had world wars. They always fought. They always had wars over what people believed. It's obvious. They had wars because people didn't believe that Jesus died on the cross, that it was somebody else. That would be the Muslims. And the Christians will want to fight them and hate them because they don't believe that Jesus died on the cross, that it was somebody else, that a crucifixion surely took place, but it wasn't Jesus on it. Why would they have wars over what people believe? Now we know why. Okay? And then with Mary Magdalene, with that voodoo doll they created, y'all better return Mary Magdalene's remains to her grave in a respectful way with a whole lot of apologies. That was the woman that Jesus loved. Now, I don't know for sure if that's her bones or not, but I do know that they like to dig up people's bones like they did Geronimo, skull and bones, to do their wicked evil magic. Yeah, and that's the daughter-in-law of the father and the mother, if you think about it. And you desecrated her remains to make a voodoo doll so that we would never, ever touch that message. We would never hear it. It could never touch us. And then you went on and you slandered Mary Magdalene and said she was a prostitute and full of the devil, that Jesus had to free from demons. You did everything to slander Mary Magdalene, and you don't even recognize her as a disciple. You call her a follower, a supporter. Yeah, she was way more than that. She was the love of the Messiah's life. And because of her right now, I'm going to pass my tests. I know what these tests are about. Now I just have to master them. And I think I pretty much, just because of Mother's guidance, helping me through. Yeah. And also the Christ mind. Jesus was talking about what the Christ mind was in that book. And we're just now coming upon some knowledge, ancient knowledge about the Christ mind. And it's right there. And it's only one page of a real frayed, I should say, old, ancient page. That's all in this. That's the book. But the word of Mary Magdalene and the words of Jesus is here today. And it will not be shadow banned, Hashatan, because you know what happens when these words go into the ethers, coming from the Messiah's disciple. You know what that means, that the message of Mary Magdalene, first of all, that's not going to be shadow banned anymore. And your little hocus pocus and voodoo doll that you created to keep us from knowing Mary Magdalene and her message is to dust. Abracadabra, it won't work anymore. She's going to go viral because we need to know how to pass our tests. And the message that Jesus told his disciples to preach to the world, you shadow banned that too. You shadow banned the message that Jesus said was supposed to be preached to the church. Well, his message is not going to be shadow banned either. That's going to go throughout the world. The Christ mind, what it's all about. And also the expose of what this matrix really is. Yep, it's going to go viral, Hashatan. And people are going to come into this knowledge because we are going to make it. We are going to pass our test. We're going to pass every last world because we have the knowledge. We are Christ minded. and we have connected. You see, Starseed United, their magic only lasts for so long. And see, it's called out now. That illusion, that hocus pocus with that voodoo doll, it's no longer going to work. But it did work. Can you see how it worked? All of their wicked, evil magic to suppress this most important message to the church will no longer be suppressed. Abracadabra. So anyway, y'all, it's good to know that our Savior couldn't be crucified by the devil like that. He didn't have the authorization. The Most High God of Israel delivered him. Yeah, he tricked everybody into believing that that was him for his protection, basically. And he went off and he lived a beautiful life with the woman that he loved, Mary Magdalene. And they had children. And they have descendants still on this planet. That's a beautiful story. And now look at what happened to all of the disciples. They didn't get that same protection. They could have had that same protection that Mary Magdalene was trying to tell them about. Like, you don't have to fret, you'll be divinely protected. But they couldn't even read between the lines. They couldn't even hear what Jesus was saying when he said, they killed me, but I lived. They couldn't even understand the message. But I can. I hope you can too. And it's a beautiful thing that they went off. They deserved to have a good and beautiful life, and they did. And those that failed to preach that message in that room were not divinely protected. What happened to them? Because they didn't preach that message. I didn't hear it in any of the Gospels. I didn't hear it in any of the letters. I didn't hear any of them speak about the Christ mind and what it means in exposing this matrix and how to pass the test. I didn't read it in my Bible. And they failed to preach it. But Hashatan knew the danger of that message. The whole thing about Jesus continuing to live on and he have descendants and, he knew the danger of the message, freeing us from this matrix and completely freeing us from this matrix. Never wanted that to happen. And we see how hard they fought, even to the point of magical voodoo dolls to keep us ignorant. I want to show you guys something really, really magical. It showed up in the skies of China. Actually, these very black clouds, they rose up from the ground.
I don't know. It's a bit scary. Also exclaimed, what is the reason for this? Another said, I don't know. It's a bit scary. I've never seen anything like this.
This was a beautiful and magical sign. The people said that it was scary and they never seen anything like that because these black, very black clouds rose up from the ground. And look at it, you guys. I see the side profile. You could tell that he's one of us. And you can see a very soft side profile of a woman next to him. Isn't that beautiful? All kind of signs and wonders on this earth. And all praises to the Most High. I can see them. Can you see it? We're going to go to the courts of the Most High and do our duty, y'all. Our duty is magic against magic. And this will go viral. Their story and how it ended. The whole thing, the whole message is in my pan drum. That was very magical when Jesus was talking to me. And it was all about his and Mary Magdalene's story. Isn't that something? And with this book, the code has been cracked. The code needed to be cracked. Yeah, so at the end of, after we leave the courts of the Most High, I'm going to play that magical message again with my pan drums. And you'll see how it connects to this story. Yeah, the Messiah wanted us to know. He says that I would know why Jesus nailed Lucifer's tactic. And this is all about their story, all about the gospel of Mary Magdalene. Mother, thank you so much for this beautiful, beautiful download. We were supposed to know these things. Thank you, Mother. This was such a beautiful, beautiful ending to a very horrible story where we thought our Messiah was tortured like that by the devil while the Father was looking at it and all the angels just looking at it. Now I know that my big brother was wise and he took his woman away from all of that energy and they went and had children. What? And I do believe and I hope that I'm one of them. They have offspring. They have descendants. Mary Magdalene and Jesus. Isn't that something? Oh my goodness. No wonder they had wars over the narrative. The ones that believed he died on the cross for their sins and the ones that said it didn't happen that way. It was somebody else on the cross. They have had wars over this narrative. I also want to honor Mary Magdalene, our big brother's wife. She had to be a beautiful starseed. Yahweh and Mother, I ask that you bless Mary Magdalene on today. Let her get all of those accolades for being a good wife and being your servant. Free her name from the slander and let her be honored in the universe on today. Abracadabra. And Father, we reverse and we cause all of that hocus pocus with that voodoo doll that the church created, that grotesque image of Mary Magdalene. We turn it to dust. Abracadabra. Abracadabra. Teach us, Mother, teach us. Thank you, Father, for always bowing the heavens to hear us. We know that you heard this whole message and you know the truth about what happened. And we ask you to judge this matter and bring justice to the world. Abracadabra. We thank you, Mother, for all of this wisdom about your daughter-in-law. Yes. Thank you, Mother. Starseed United, you know what to do. Give your Father praise and glory. Adore your beautiful mother. And pledge your allegiance to our big brother, the King and the God of this earth. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share all of this good news. Starseed United for life, yes. Thank you so much. Much gratitude for all of your kind words and your gifts of love. May the Most High bless you 1,000-fold for whatever your heart's desire. Abracadabra. Yes, until the next judgment news, your big sister, the Hebrew widow, the Hebrew rose, the Jericho out. Shalom. Know this, I love you and I am not ashamed.
Shalom, everyone. The end.